Imagine a world where a simple act of kindness could change everything. This is the story of Dr. Miles Harrison, a brilliant doctor who had everything money could buy. Mansions, fast cars, and a life of luxury were all his. He was known for his skill in the operating room. Yet, despite his success, Dr. Harrison felt a deep emptiness. He longed for connection, for something more meaningful than just accumulating wealth. He often made large, anonymous donations to hospitals and charities, hoping to fill the void. But the feeling was always fleeting. He lived a quiet, solitary life, his days filled with work and his nights with silence. He yearned to make a real difference, a difference he could see and feel. Little did he know that opportunity was just around the corner, waiting on a sun-baked street corner, in the form of a small lemonade stand. The stage is now set for a sweltering summer day in the heart of Oakwood, a neighborhood filled with small, colorful houses and the scent of blooming honeysuckle. Children's laughter echoed through the streets as they played hopscotch and chased ice cream trucks. Old men sat on porches, fans whirring softly, while women chatted over garden fences. It was a typical summer day, full of life and simple joys. But beneath the surface of this idyllic scene, many families struggled. Jobs were scarce and money was tight. Yet, the spirit of Oakwood remained strong, a testament to the community's resilience. On this particular day, the heat was almost unbearable, making the shade under the old oak trees a welcome refuge. The sun beat down on the pavement, making it shimmer like a mirage. It was the kind of day where everyone craved a cool drink and a moment of respite from the relentless heat. This heat would become a key player in our tale. Amidst this summer heat, two young entrepreneurs were hard at work. 8-year-old Marcus, with his bright, curious eyes and a gap-toothed grin, stood proudly beside their makeshift lemonade stand. His older sister, 10-year-old Keisha, ever the responsible one, carefully poured lemonade into paper cups. Their small table, decorated with colorful hand-drawn signs, sat at the corner of their street. Lemonade, 50 cents, the signs proclaimed in wobbly letters. Marcus bounced on the balls of his feet, scanning the street for potential customers. Keisha meticulously wiped down the table, ensuring everything was neat and tidy. They had been at it for hours, but only a few people had stopped by. Their energy, however, remained high. They were determined to reach their goal, even if it meant standing in the scorching sun all day. They glanced at each other, a silent promise of perseverance passing between them. They were in this together. The reason behind their unwavering commitment was a heavy one for such young shoulders to bear. Their mom, Sarah, a kind and loving woman who worked tirelessly as a waitress, was very sick. She needed a special surgery to get better, but it cost a lot of money, more than they could ever imagine. Sarah tried to hide her worry from her children, always putting on a brave face. But Marcus and Keisha knew something was wrong. They overheard hushed phone calls and saw the sadness in her eyes. One night, they overheard Sarah talking to their grandmother about the surgery and how they were going to pay for it. That's when they decided to take action. They would raise the money themselves, one cup of lemonade at a time. Their love for their mom fueled their determination, turning a simple lemonade stand into a mission of hope. They were saving their mom. As the sun climbed higher, Dr. Harrison found himself driving through Oakwood. He rarely ventured into this part of town. Usually, he stuck to the polished streets and gated communities where he felt more at home. However, today he was taking a detour, searching for a specific antique shop a colleague had recommended. He drove slowly, observing the neighborhood with a detached curiosity. He saw the colorful houses, the playing children, and the elderly residents chatting on their porches. He initially saw the lemonade stand as just another part of the scenery. He was used to seeing children trying to make a few bucks during the summer. But as he passed by, something made him glance back. He saw Marcus and Keisha, their faces etched with a determination that seemed far beyond their years. Something about their unwavering focus, despite the lack of customers, caught his attention. It was a spark of something special, something that resonated with him despite his initial indifference. He felt compelled to turn around. As he parked his sleek car a short distance away, Dr. Harrison took a moment to observe the scene. He noticed the faded paint on the lemonade stand, the slightly crumpled paper cups, and the wilting lemons on display. He could see that they were using powdered lemonade mix, not freshly squeezed lemons, likely because it was more affordable. He also noticed the scarcity of customers. A few neighbors had smiled and waved as they walked by, but no one had actually stopped to buy a drink. He watched as Marcus tried to entice a passing dog walker with a cheerful lemonade. "Mister, it's cold and refreshing." But the man politely declined. Keisha gently patted her brother on the shoulder, offering a reassuring smile. Dr. Harrison could sense their growing disappointment, a quiet sadness that settled over them with each passing hour. He saw their hope slowly fading under the relentless summer sun. It was then that he decided to intervene. He had to do something. Dr. Harrison straightened his tie, took a deep breath, and walked towards the lemonade stand. As he approached, Marcus's face lit up with a renewed sense of hope. "Lemonade, sir? Only 50 cents!" he exclaimed, his voice filled with enthusiasm. Dr. Harrison smiled warmly. "I think I will," he said, pulling out some change. Keisha quickly poured him a cup, her hands slightly trembling. He took a sip. The lemonade was overly sweet and a bit gritty from the powdered mix, but he forced a smile. "This is refreshing," he said, trying to sound convincing. "You kids are doing a great job." He could see the relief wash over their faces, a small victory in their uphill battle. He knew he had to proceed carefully, not wanting to crush their spirits. This was more than just buying a cup of lemonade. It was about acknowledging their effort and offering a glimmer of hope. "So," Dr. Harrison began, setting the cup down on the table, "what are you two planning to do with all this lemonade money?" Keisha looked at Marcus, and then back at Dr. Harrison, a hint of nervousness in her eyes. "We're saving up for something important," she said softly. Dr. Harrison leaned in slightly, his voice gentle. "Important how?" he asked. Marcus, unable to contain his excitement, blurted out, "It's for our mom. She needs an operation, but it costs a lot of money. We're trying to help." Keisha shot Marcus a look, a mixture of pride and worry on her face. Dr. Harrison's expression softened. He now understood the depth of their determination, the weight of their responsibility. It was no longer just a lemonade stand. It was a lifeline, a symbol of their unwavering love for their mother. He knew he had to help, but he wanted to do it in a way that preserved their dignity and their sense of accomplishment. Dr. Harrison stroked his chin thoughtfully. "An operation, huh? That sounds expensive." He paused, then asked, "How much does this operation cost?" "Exactly." Keisha hesitated, then quietly said, $30,000. Dr. Harrison's eyebrows shot up, though he tried to remain composed. That was a staggering amount of money for anyone, let alone two young children running a lemonade stand. He knew he couldn't just hand them the money. It wouldn't feel right. He needed to find a way to make it feel like they had earned it. $30,000, he repeated slowly, pretending to consider the situation. "Well, that's quite a bit of lemonade you'd have to sell, wouldn't it?" He tapped his finger on the table, a mischievous glint in his eye. "Tell you what," he said, a plan forming in his mind. "I'm feeling particularly thirsty today. How about I buy a lifetime supply?" Marcus and Keisha exchanged confused glances. "A lifetime supply?" Marcus asked, tilting his head. "But that would be a lot of lemonade." Dr. Harrison chuckled. "Indeed it would. So what do you think? How much would a lifetime supply cost me?" He winked, adding, "Don't be shy now." Keisha, ever the cautious one, started doing calculations in her head. "Well, if you drank one cup every day for like 80 years. Dr. Harrison interrupted her playfully. "Let's just say I'm a very thirsty man and I'm willing to pay $30,000 for the privilege. How does that sound?" Their eyes widened in disbelief. 30,000, Marcus stammered. Keisha, still trying to grasp the enormity of the offer, asked, "For lemonade?" Dr. Harrison nodded, a twinkle in his eye. "The best lemonade in Oakwood." A lifetime supply is worth every penny, wouldn't you say? He was careful to keep his tone light and humorous, wanting to make the situation feel as normal as possible. He was giving them a gift, but he was doing it in a way that allowed them to maintain their pride and dignity. A wave of joy washed over Marcus and Keisha. They looked at each other, their eyes sparkling with excitement. Really? You'd pay that much? Marcus asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Keisha, still processing the information, cautiously added, "But, why? Our lemonade isn't that good." Dr. Harrison smiled reassuringly. "Nonsense. It's the best lemonade I've had all day. Besides," he winked, "I appreciate the hard work you two are putting in. That's worth something, too." He pulled out his checkbook and pen. "Now, who should I make this out to?" Marcus and Keisha were still a little bewildered, but the overwhelming feeling was one of immense gratitude. They had never imagined that their little lemonade stand could bring in so much money. Felt like a dream come true, a dream that would save their mom. The confusion lingered, but the joy overshadowed it, filling their hearts with hope and relief. They were one step closer to saving Sarah. With a flourish, Dr. Harrison wrote out the check, making it payable to Sarah Miller, their mother's name. He carefully tore it from the checkbook and handed it to Keisha. "Here you go," he said, smiling warmly. "This is for the lifetime supply of lemonade. I hope it helps your mom get better soon." Keisha took the check with trembling hands, her eyes welling up with tears. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "Thank you so much." Marcus, equally moved, simply nodded, unable to find the words to express his gratitude. Dr. Harrison patted Marcus on the shoulder. "You two are doing a wonderful thing. Don't ever give up." He paused, then added, "I'm sure your mom is very proud of you." He gave them one last smile and turned to leave. He resisted the urge to say anything more, knowing that sometimes the simplest gestures are the most powerful. He knew that this single act had changed something within him, too. A small seed of hope had been planted in his heart. As Dr. Harrison drove away, a genuine smile spread across his face. It was a smile that reached his eyes, a smile that had been absent for far too long. He felt a warmth in his chest, a lightness he hadn't experienced in years. The loneliness that had plagued him seemed to fade into the background, replaced by a sense of purpose. He had made a difference, a real difference, in someone's life. It wasn't just another anonymous donation. It was a personal connection, a human interaction that had touched him deeply. The weight of his wealth seemed less burdensome, more meaningful. He finally understood that true wealth wasn't about the money itself, but about what you did with it. He replayed the scene in his mind. Marcus's hopeful eyes, Keisha's quiet determination, and their unwavering love for their mother. These images filled him with a sense of hope and inspiration. He knew this was just the beginning. He had found something that truly mattered, a way to use his resources to bring joy and healing to others. He knew he was on the right path now. Bursting with excitement, Marcus and Keisha raced into their small house, the check clutched tightly in Keisha's hand. "Mom! Mom! Look what happened!" Marcus shouted, his voice filled with glee. Sarah, who was resting on the couch, her face pale and drawn, sat up slowly, wincing in pain. "What is it, sweethearts? What's all the commotion?" Keisha, breathless, presented the check to her mother. "We sold a lifetime supply of lemonade," she exclaimed. Sarah took the check, her eyes widening in disbelief. She looked at the amount, $30,000, and shook her head in disbelief.
$32,000?
"For lemonade? That can't be right," she said, her voice laced with skepticism. She examined the check closely, scrutinizing the signature and the bank name. It all looked legitimate, but it seemed too good to be true. She couldn't believe that a simple lemonade stand could have generated such an enormous sum of money. "Who gave you this?" she asked, her brow furrowed with concern. "What did they want in return?" Keisha explained how a kind man, a doctor, had stopped by and bought a lifetime supply of lemonade. She described his warm smile and gentle eyes, assuring her mom that he seemed genuine. Sarah, still hesitant, decided to call the bank to verify the check. As she spoke to the bank representative, her eyes widened in disbelief. The check was indeed valid, drawn from a legitimate account. The realization washed over her like a tidal wave. Relief, gratitude, and overwhelming love for her children flooded her heart. Tears streamed down her face as she pulled Marcus and Keisha into a tight embrace. "Oh, my babies," she sobbed. "You did it. You really did it." The weight that had been pressing down on her chest for weeks lifted. She could finally breathe, finally see a glimmer of hope for the future. The surgery was within reach, and she could finally get better, all thanks to the unwavering determination and selfless love of her two amazing children. She knew she had to find a way to thank this generous stranger, this Dr. Harrison, who had so unexpectedly changed their lives. The incredible news spread like wildfire through Oakwood. Neighbors, who had only smiled and waved at the lemonade stand before, now stopped by with words of encouragement and small donations. The story of Marcus and Keisha's dedication, and the anonymous act of kindness from a stranger, touched everyone's hearts. Soon, a local news reporter caught wind of the story and decided to investigate. The reporter interviewed Sarah, Marcus, and Keisha, capturing their heartwarming tale of perseverance and hope. The story aired on the evening news, showcasing the children's lemonade stand and their unwavering love for their mom. It also highlighted the generous act of the anonymous doctor who had made their dream a reality. The community rallied around Sarah, organizing fundraising events and offering support in any way they could. The lemonade stand, once a small, struggling venture, became a symbol of hope and the power of community spirit. Driven by curiosity and a desire to give credit where it was due, the reporter began digging into the identity of the anonymous doctor. Through some clever detective work, piecing together clues from the check and Sarah's description, she discovered that the generous benefactor was none other than Dr. Miles Harrison. As she delved deeper, the reporter uncovered a pattern of anonymous good deeds stretching back years. Dr. Harrison had quietly donated to countless charities, funded scholarships for underprivileged students, and even paid for medical treatments for families in need, always insisting on remaining anonymous. His philanthropy was legendary, but carefully hidden from the public eye. The reporter was amazed by his humility and his genuine desire to help others without seeking recognition. She knew that uncovering his identity would add another layer of inspiration to the already heartwarming story. It showed the community that kindness could come from the most unexpected places. Armed with her newfound knowledge, the reporter approached Dr. Harrison at his office. She explained that she knew about his generous donation to Sarah, Marcus, and Keisha, and that she was writing a story about it. She requested an interview, hoping to shed light on his motivations and inspire others with his example. However, Dr. Harrison politely declined. He explained that he appreciated the reporter's interest, but he preferred to remain anonymous. He wasn't seeking recognition or praise. His only goal was to help those in need, and he believed that drawing attention to himself would detract from the children's inspiring story. He emphasized that the focus should be on Marcus and Keisha's resilience and their unwavering love for their mother, not on his contribution. He thanked the reporter for her understanding and reiterated his desire to keep his good deeds private. His humility only deepened the reporter's admiration for him. Despite Dr. Harrison's desire for anonymity, the news story had already sparked a wave of support for Sarah and her children. Neighbors organized bake sales, car washes, and even a talent show to raise additional funds for her medical expenses. Local businesses donated goods and services, and volunteers offered to help with household chores and childcare. The community of Oakwood truly came together, demonstrating the power of collective kindness. Even though Dr. Harrison had already provided the majority of the funds needed for the surgery, the outpouring of support from the community was invaluable. It showed Sarah, Marcus, and Keisha that they were not alone, that they were surrounded by people who cared about them and were willing to help in any way they could. This collective effort not only provided financial assistance but also lifted their spirits and strengthened their resolve. They were embraced by a community that cherished them. With the funds secured and the community's support unwavering, Sarah was finally able to undergo the life-saving surgery she so desperately needed. The procedure was a success, and she began her long but steady recovery. Marcus and Keisha visited her in the hospital every day, bringing her flowers and reading her stories. They were overjoyed to see her getting stronger with each passing day. The fear that had haunted them for so long began to dissipate, replaced by a growing sense of hope and optimism. Sarah, deeply grateful for the second chance she had been given, focused on her recovery and on rebuilding her strength. She knew she had a long road ahead, but she was determined to get back on her feet and provide for her children. She also knew that she wanted to pay forward the kindness that had been shown to her and her family. She started making plans for how she could give back to the community that had supported them so generously. One evening, after Marcus and Keisha had closed up the lemonade stand for the day, Dr. Harrison quietly drove by. He parked his car a block away and, under the cover of darkness, approached the stand. He left a small box filled with fresh lemons, sugar, and new paper cups, along with a handwritten note. The note read, "Keep up the great work. Your lemonade is the best in town. A friend." He smiled to himself, knowing that this small gesture would bring a smile to their faces. He didn't need their thanks. Their success and their mother's recovery were reward enough. He simply wanted to encourage them to continue their entrepreneurial spirit and their commitment to helping others. He knew that they had the potential to do great things, and he wanted to support them in any way he could, even if it meant doing so anonymously. He was now their secret cheerleader. With their mom on the mend, Marcus and Keisha decided to keep the lemonade stand running. But this time, their motivation had shifted. They had experienced firsthand the kindness of others, and they wanted to pay it forward. They decided to donate a portion of their earnings to other families in need within their community. They carefully crafted a new sign for their stand, "Lemonade for a Cause," helping families in Oakwood. They researched local charities and organizations that supported families struggling with medical bills, food insecurity, or housing instability. Each week, they selected a different cause to support, sharing information about it with their customers and explaining how their lemonade purchases would make a difference. The lemonade stand became more than just a business. It became a vehicle for positive change, a symbol of hope and generosity within Oakwood. Marcus and Keisha learned the importance of giving back and the power of collective action. They were transforming their community, one cup of lemonade at a time. Dr. Harrison often drove through Oakwood, making sure to pass by the lemonade stand. He would park his car a short distance away and watch as Marcus and Keisha interacted with their customers, sharing stories about the families they were helping and collecting donations with enthusiasm. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment knowing that he had played a small part in their journey. He had witnessed their kindness firsthand, and he was inspired by their dedication to making a difference in the world. Their actions reaffirmed his belief in the power of human connection and the importance of giving back. He realized that his wealth was not just a means to acquire possessions but a tool to create positive change. Seeing Marcus and Keisha thrive, not just as entrepreneurs but as compassionate and caring individuals, filled Dr. Harrison with a joy he had never experienced before. He knew that his life had been forever changed by their simple act of selling lemonade. He was no longer a lonely billionaire. He was part of something bigger, something meaningful. The little lemonade stand on the corner of Oakwood became much more than just a place to buy a refreshing drink. It transformed into a symbol of hope, resilience, and community spirit. It represented the power of kindness, the strength of family, and the unwavering belief that anything is possible. People from all walks of life visited the stand, drawn by the heartwarming story and the opportunity to support a good cause. The lemonade wasn't just a beverage. It was a symbol of unity, a reminder that even in the face of adversity, people can come together to make a difference. The stand became a gathering place, a hub of activity where neighbors connected, shared stories, and offered support to one another. It fostered a sense of belonging and reminded everyone that they were part of something bigger than themselves. The lemonade stand proved that even the smallest acts of kindness can have a ripple effect, creating a wave of positive change that transforms an entire community. For Dr. Harrison, the experience with Marcus, Keisha, and the lemonade stand became a profound turning point in his life. He realized that all the wealth in the world couldn't buy the kind of joy and fulfillment he had found in helping others. He understood that true wealth wasn't measured in dollars and cents, but in acts of kindness, human connection, and the positive impact one could have on the world. The loneliness that had plagued him for so long began to fade away, replaced by a sense of belonging and purpose. He realized that he had been so focused on accumulating wealth that he had neglected the most important things in life: relationships, compassion, and giving back to the community. He learned that the greatest rewards came not from receiving, but from giving. He had found true wealth in the smiles of Marcus and Keisha, in Sarah's recovery, and in the ripple effect of kindness that had transformed Oakwood. He knew he could never go back to his old, solitary life. He was forever changed. Inspired by the transformative power of the lemonade stand, Dr. Harrison decided to dedicate his life to serving others. He established a foundation to help families struggling with medical expenses, providing financial assistance and support to those in need. He became actively involved in the Oakwood community, volunteering his time at local clinics and mentoring young entrepreneurs. He shared his knowledge and resources, empowering others to achieve their dreams and make a positive impact on the world. He still drove by the lemonade stand from time to time, but now he often stopped to buy a cup and chat with Marcus and Keisha. He had become their friend, their mentor, and their biggest supporter. Dr. Harrison had finally found genuine happiness, not in his wealth, but in his connection to others and in his commitment to making the world a better place. He had learned that the most valuable things in life are not things at all, but the love, kindness, and compassion we share with one another. The end.